Alan Wake was released for the Xbox 360 only a few short days ago, and already critics are raving about it. But are those critics truly being critical?
We here at GameXplain couldn't help but compare Alan Wake to one of our favorite games. One thing led to another, and now we find ourselves listing 10 reasons why Resident Evil 4 is better than Alan Wake, and 2 reasons why it isn't.
Reason 1. Health system. Resident Evil 4 placed a heavy emphasis on managing health. Players would have to watch their life and strategically use a variety of healing items to stay alive. The game felt like a constant battle for your life in the face of terrifying odds.
On the other hand, Alan Wake used the namby-pamby regeneration system. Not only does Wake heal steadily over time, but he can completely recover merely by stepping into a light. Leon might be a metrosexual man-child, but at least he knows how to roll together herbal remedies when necessary.
Reason 2. Ammo, or lack thereof. Resident Evil 4 had dynamically dropping ammo that was based on how well you were playing the game. Even still, if you got into a bind and found yourself lacking the necessary bullets, you could always pull out your handy knife and cut your foes off at the knees.
In Alan Wake, should you find yourself without ammo, which is a feat in its own right, you're pretty much boned. Sure, Alan Wake is a writer, so he isn't exactly trained with a combat knife, but swinging that flashlight at enemies has got to be better than nothing at all.
Reason 3. Enemies. Resident Evil 4 had players squaring off against Los Ganados, a group of possessed civilians from a small isolated village in Spain.
Alan Wake has players squaring off against the Taken, a group of possessed civilians from a small isolated town in Washington's Olympic Peninsula.
Despite these similarities, the enemies in Resident Evil 4 are far more terrifying and engaging to fight. Los Ganados are a bloodthirsty, unstoppable force who work together and use the environment to get at your throat. Even as they are swarming you with pitchforks held high, they are still recognizably human. If you want to make it through this game alive, you have to look them square in the eye as you say goodnight.
The Taken are somewhat less than intimidating. Their faces are always shrouded in darkness, and they simply melt away as soon as the killing blow is dealt. Oh, and just listen to some of the stuff they say. Truly hair-raising.
Los Ganados, and their more difficult counterparts, the Los Illuminados, skip all that nonsense and get right to the point. Reason 4. Bosses. Resident Evil 4 has some of the most intense boss fights ever. Del Lago, the lake monster, El Gigante, the biological abomination, and the village chief are all the stuff of nightmares. And we still have flashbacks about fighting Salazar's right-hand man.
What did Alan Wake bring to the table in terms of boss fights? Why, local landowner Carl Stuckey and a combine harvester, of course. It's about as scary as fighting a bulldozer and a park ranger. Oh, wait, you do that too.
Reason 5. The Hedge Maze. As we approached the hedge maze in Resident Evil 4 for the first time, the only thing we could think was, no sir, I don't like it.
As far as Alan Wake goes, there was a hedge maze in that game? Oh, right. I must have slept through it.
Reason 6. Tension. Resident Evil 4 is rife with tension. Every single moment is thick with the threat of impending doom. This sensation is only heightened by brief breaks in action after clearing rooms or in safe areas that allow you to regroup and get ready for the next challenge.
Alan Wake really has almost no tension. The daytime sequences are protracted lulls in the action where you're completely safe and are more than aware of it. The moments where you find yourself in the middle of a dark forest at night without a flashlight or gun should be the most frightening, but are actually the least, as the developers made great pains to keep you completely safe during these stretches of time.
Reason 7. Writing. Resident Evil 4's writing is purposefully cheesy and B-grade.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Leon is a mockery of the American action hero, constantly muttering half-baked one-liners while turning down the sexual advances of every woman he meets.
Hasta luego.
Alan Wake's writing is just your normal, unintentional brand of bad. His voiceovers are horrendously scripted, and most of the dialogue is stilted as well.
Vibrant and beautiful, full of life. He had never been a very...
Reason 8. Inventory. In the world of Resident Evil 4, players need to constantly manage the items they pick up in order to assure survival at any cost. On top of that, you can upgrade your weapons throughout the game. You can tell a lot about a man by how he organizes his attaché case.
Conversely, Alan Wake requires no item management whatsoever. Simply pick up every object you encounter, use them for a while, pick up a better weapon when it presents itself, then have everything you collected unceremoniously plucked from your hands several times a chapter. Repeat until you die of boredom.
Reason 9. Combat. The battles in Resident Evil 4 are heated, protracted struggles for survival. They require a broad variety of strategies and can be approached in an open-ended fashion. People have written entire theses on whether it's better to shoot enemies in the head or in the legs.
Alan Wake's combat, on the other hand, is about as shallow as it can be. Drain the darkness from an enemy, then let the auto-aim take hold and guide your 2 to 4 bullets to their intended recipient. Don't bother aiming too much. Killing a Taken is as easy as a few blasts to the foot.
The level of intensity in Resident Evil 4's battles just trumps anything seen in Alan Wake.
Fighting enemies while stuck on a moving gondola should be scary. Instead, in Alan Wake, there's no real difference between a regular battle with birds and one on the gondola.
Reason 10. Hotter girls.
Just take a look at the central women in each game side by side. Any red-blooded male can pick out the clear winner. So that's what we think Resident Evil 4 does better than Alan Wake, but what about the inverse? Surely there must be something that Alan Wake does better. Reason the first. Graphics and lighting. Alan Wake is simply a gorgeous game. Some of the vistas are awe-inspiring, and the use of lighting is unmatched. Running through the dark forest with the legions of evil biting at your heels never looked so good.
While Resident Evil 4 looked great for its time, it's starting to appear dated in some areas, particularly the lighting, which is mostly faked.
Reason the second. Story integration. Though we're no huge fans of Alan Wake's story, the way it's told is spot on. There are only a scant few cutscenes, with most of the plot development occurring during gameplay sections. Alan Wake's voiceover may be poorly written, but it's still a valiant attempt at merging story with gameplay. Additionally, the manuscript pages add a chilling extra dimension to the events taking place around you, sometimes even predicting the future.
Resident Evil 4's story is told in a much more straightforward manner through the usage of frequent cutscenes. The only attempt made to integrate gameplay into these scenes is in the form of QTEs, which were already a fairly stale mechanic when the game came out 5 years ago. Thanks for joining us, Micah Seth,
And Skylar Lystad.
for this video feature. Make sure to check out the rest of our Alan Wake coverage at GameXplain.com.